Media has no shame. I declared in 2007 and 8 that journalism is dead. You talked about Tim Walz and his record as a joke, and that he also, Kamala Harris, bent the knee to the pro-Hamas wing of her party. Explain.
Well, we know that the people who were considered were Josh Shapiro, Mark Kelly, and this guy, Tim Walz. And we know that Josh Shapiro in particular was attacked mercilessly from the far left for being Jewish, for not being anti-Israel enough. And of course, he ran away from his own positions. But the fact that you're letting anti-Semites within the Democrat Party drive so much of the conversation and so much of the decision-making for Kamala Harris is a really worrying sign, Sean. You have to ask yourself, who does Kamala Harris answer to? Does she answer to the American people, or does she answer to the far left of her own party? On issue after issue, from opening the border to supporting higher grocery prices on American, she has bent the knee to the far left of the party, and this decision, selecting Tim Walz, is another sign that she doesn't care what the American people think. She is only in this to obey the far left radicals within her own party. It's a really shameful moment for Kamala Harris. You know, Tim Walz has all of these things we can point to. He's a really far left candidate. He's a really far left governor. But the fact that Kamala Harris selected him, I think, shows really, really poor judgment, and that she doesn't have what it takes to be president of the United States.
I think it shows, too, that this is who she is. I mean, I really have to wonder if they even bothered to vet her.
So Kamala Harris has chosen Minnesota Governor Tim Walz as her second VP choice. And notice, I say second. That wasn't an accident. I say second choice because she already chose Josh Shapiro as her VP a few days ago. And everyone's ignoring that, even the Republicans. But in certain areas of America, they've already been running campaign ads with Kamala Harris and Josh Shapiro as her VP. She already chose him and then got bullied into making a different decision. So let's be clear here. At first, Donald Trump was running against Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, and then they switched it around. Now he's running against Kamala Harris, but they've also switched around the VP. They're switching around everything, and Republicans aren't holding them on it, and that's where Republicans are failing. I wanted to make a video about this earlier in the week, and now I wish I did because of everything that played out today. But Republicans basically allowed Kamala to announce informally announce her VP pick as Josh Shapiro, and then they shopped that idea around on the internet to see how people felt about it. It got a negative reaction, so then she switched her VP pick. Now imagine if Donald Trump did something like that. But even though these ads with Josh Shapiro as her VP, even though these ads were already running in certain portions of the country, Republicans have been sitting around all week twiddling their thumbs like, oh, I wonder who's going to be Kamala Harris's VP. We already know she chose Josh Shapiro. And here's why they should have focused on this. Because Kamala is running a campaign that is all about identity politics, okay? Race is all up in this campaign. Talks and discussions and debates about race. And then, of course, what do? What's the number one thing they try to throw at Trump? They try to say that he's a racist and he's a bigot and he's a bad guy. Well, guess what? Kamala Harris literally allowed her voter base, who largely are against Jewish people and they're against Israel right now. You know, that's just the current flavor of the week. And regardless if you agree with them or not, what they did is they made a racial decision, and she changed her VP pick because of his race, because of his background. So if we're going to play a campaign in an election all based on identity politics, that's something that should be focused on. She picked Josh Shapiro. Her voter base, they're all upset at Jewish people right now. So then she got bullied into changing the pick. And the crazy part is, I'm not the only one who notices this, okay? They even mentioned it on CNN. That's how bad it is. It's so blatant. And I'm sitting here scratching my head like, hey, why is CNN, kind of, and not all the way, but they're kind of calling Kamala out about this, but Republicans are silent? I mean, are they really trying to win the election? It doesn't look like it to me. But let's roll this clip and then I'll be right back.
Do you think it was a little risky, though, Van, that she didn't go with Shapiro to kind of lock down Pennsylvania? I mean, yes, David Challenger was saying earlier, just because you pick him as your running mate doesn't mean you automatically win Pennsylvania. But I got to think it would have helped just a little bit.
Hey, listen, the conservatives, the right wing, the Republicans, they were chewing their fingernails down to the knuckle because they were afraid of a Josh Shapiro. They were afraid of a Mark Kelly. They're not as afraid of this new governor because they think they can define him. So here's the challenge you've got in this party. And people don't want to talk about it. We got to talk about it. On the one hand, you have a lot of young people who are concerned about Gaza. You have a lot of Muslims and Arabs and others. They have not felt seen by the Biden administration. You start hearing that genocide joke. That was building. And so those folks needed to have a candidate that they could feel comfortable with. This helps them in that regard. But you also have anti-Semitism that has gotten marbled into this party. You can be for the Palestinians without being an anti-Jewish bigot, but there are some anti-Jewish bigots out there. And there's some disquiet now, and there has to be. How much of what just happened is caving into some of these darker parts in the party? So that's going to have to get worked out. It's going to have to get talked.
So yeah, I'm just dumbfounded that we have to rely on CNN to bring this point up. And it's not like he really hammered the point home. It's not like he was vicious or, anything towards Kamala. Of course, they're still trying to do what they can to make her look good. But why is it that we have to wait for CNN to bring up this point? What is the Trump campaign doing? And I'm not talking about Trump personally. I'm talking about the people around him. When they started running those ads with Josh Shapiro as VP, it was clear that they were shopping it around. And Republicans should have made her stand on that decision. So when she had to change that decision a few days later, it would make her look bad. And the world would know that she changed her decision because of the guy's identity. But hey, another golden opportunity, another bag fumbled by the Republicans. And this is why I tell people, they say we have like a two-party system, but in reality, I think it's just one system with a couple of outliers, Trump being one of them. And, these Republicans, they sit on here, they'll yell, they will scream, they will act like they're offended, they'll act like they're fighting for this or that. But in reality, I don't think most of them want Trump in office either, which is why we have to rely on freaking CNN, of all places, to actually call things out that the Republicans should have been calling out for the last week. And man, oh man, do I regret not making that video now. But hey, it is what it is. As you can see, the Democrats will change and switch out, as much as they can, as much as necessary, because no one's holding them accountable for it. So right now it's Kamala and Walz who know who it will be in the next day if this guy comes under fire. But let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. While you're down there, hit that thumbs up, hit that subscribe, and remember, if you find yourself getting too worked up by all of this, it's just political cinema.